Hello everyone, my name is Akshay and welcome to the highly requested FPL wildcard video. So a lot of you guys still have your wildcard available and you've been waiting for either game week 36 or 37 for the doubles in those game weeks to play it. However, something slightly different for this video. Instead of my personal opinion, I've gone with Fantasy Football Hub's AI best wildcard predicted points team. So this wildcard team that I'm going to show you guys has a predicted points of 250 for the last 3 game weeks. Of course, as always, I'll give you guys my insights and opinions on the wildcard AI team that Fantasy Football Hub has predicted is the best, because I don't agree with everything in there. But anyway, just before we get into the video, if you do enjoy it, please do leave a like and also subscribe to the channel. Your support recently has been amazing. But other than that, let's get into it. So we'll start off in goal and defense. We have Steele, Trippier, Shah and Shaw. Of course, Brighton have just been hammered yesterday 5-1 against Everton, which was a shock and none of us were expecting it. However, Steele still has the highest predicted points out of any goalkeeper for the remainder of the season. Of course, it does help that Brighton have 2 double game weeks in a row, so of course he's going to be predicted to get higher points. However, a thing to note here is that his double game week games are actually extremely difficult. Brighton still have to play Arsenal, Newcastle and Man City, so it's not easy at all. And then on the last game of the season, Aston Villa, who are on good form as well. However, you do have to consider how much of a steal Steele is, no pun intended. Yeah, he's only 4 mil, so for all them games, a starting goalkeeper for a team that is playing very well, bar the absolute battering that they just got from Everton, is an extremely good option to have in goal. Moving on to the rest of the defence with Trippier and Shah. Of course, Newcastle have a nice run in going into the end of the seasons. They play Leeds, Brighton, of course, are difficult, Leicester and Chelsea. So you would like I keep saying this every week, and it keeps like backfiring massively. You would expect them to keep clean sheets. I think it's now 12 or 13 games in a row where they haven't kept a clean sheet in the league, which is absolutely mind-blowing, where you compare them to the start of the season where they were keeping clean sheets for fun. And then the final defender is Luke Shaw. Of course, Man United have very nice fixtures on paper. However, the last few games haven't been the best. They are on a bit of a rocky run. However, now they do have to fight for their lives even more because of their drop points to get the top 4 place. So I think we'll see a bounce back from United. And like I said, on paper, Wolves, Bournemouth, Chelsea and Fulham, you would expect them to do very well in those 4 games. If you want to go a little bit differential, you could go for either Wan-Bissaka or Dalot as well. I went with Dalot and then he didn't even start the game, which is really frustrating. But if you want security and somebody who you know is going to play all the time, then Shaw is your man. Now moving on to the midfield, we have McAllister, Mitoma, Rashford, Bruno and De Bruyne. So very, very strong midfield there. Of course, just like I said with Steele, McAllister and Mitoma have 2 double game weeks in a row, and these are the 2 players in the team where they're very unlikely to get rested. Now that March is probably injured, I highly doubt that Mitoma is going to get rested for these games. Brighton are currently 7th with 2 games in hand over Tottenham and Liverpool, who are above them, so they're really going to be fighting for the Europa League place. All the teams pretty much have everything to play for still, which is just amazing. And the same goes with Rashford and Bruno for the top 4 place. Those are the 2 players in the Man United team that you'd expect to get hauls out of anyone in there, and in game week 37 have a double game week coming up too. Rashford is actually ranked the highest for predicted points out of any midfielder going into the rest of the season. Bruno's ranked 2nd, and then we have De Bruyne, who's ranked 3rd. Of course, De Bruyne, absolutely explosive asset, as we already know. However, there might just be a slight rotation risk because Man City are playing Real Madrid in between all of these games, so they're going to be doing everything they can to get into the Champions League final. And as we saw last week against Leeds, Pep did rotate the squad a little bit, so we just don't know. It could be a little bit more of a risky play, but I guess that's the same for any of the City players at this point. And then finally, moving on to the attack, we have Isak and Haaland. Haaland is still ranked number 1 for the most predicted points out of any forward going into the rest of the season, and Isak is ranked number 2. Both fantastic options as well, but I'm pretty sure majority of the people are going to have both of these going into the remainder of the season, so I don't think you're going to gain too much off your attackers. You could go a little bit more differential, and it's just funny in my head that I'm calling the player that I'm about to say differential. But if you didn't want, for example, De Bruyne because he's too much of a risk with Pep Roulette, you could have another attacker in Kane, because a lot of people transferred him out in the last few weeks, but he probably is the most reliable player in FPL. He's always scoring, so that could be another good option for your team. However, obviously a thing to note here is that Isak has a double game week coming up in game week 36 and Haaland has a double game week coming up in game week 37. I highly doubt Haaland's going to play 180 minutes in that double game week because, like I said, it's in and around the Real Madrid fixtures, but we'll have to wait and see. And then finally on the bench, we have Kepa, Havertz, Akanji and Fofana. So 3 out of those 4 players I don't agree with at all. I wouldn't put any Chelsea assets in your team. However, I do understand why the AI has predicted expected to put these players in, because if you have a double game week, you're more likely to score more points, logically. But I'd stay very far away from Chelsea assets, and I wouldn't put what the AI is telling you to put here. You can put other options in, and maybe take a punt for players who are actually playing for something, because the Chelsea players are not really playing for anything at this point. When it comes to this point of the season, especially players that are fighting for relegation, sometimes they're really good differentials to pick because their ownership's so low, but they're literally fighting for their Premier League life, so they give it their all. Like we're kind of seeing with Morgan Gibbs-White, who seems to be a really good option at the moment, a massive differential. Nottingham Forest are fighting for their Premier League lives, and he is stepping up to the occasion and performing near enough every single game for them. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this wildcard team. Please do let me know in the comments down below whether you would switch out any of the players and what type of wildcard team you would pick if you're playing your wildcard. Like I said, this is based on AI's highest predicted points from Fantasy Football Hub. If you want to sign up for Fantasy Football Hub, you can use the link in the top of the description. But if this video did help you, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel. But other than that, I will see you in a few days' time for my team selection for Game Week 36.